Hello class, this is your teacher Mr. McDougall with your next Photoshop tutorial. In this lesson we are going to learn about text blending. We are going to take some images of surfaces and we're going to learn how to blend text into that surface, kind of like this. We can move it around and adjust it so it kind of is see-through, like it's part of the surface. So let me show you how to do that right now in Photoshop. So as usual, download the exercise files, open them all up in Photoshop. Pause the video if you need to do that part right now, but I'll join you here on Blend 01. So when you're ready, we're going to do the effect on Blend 01. It's a very simple effect. We're going to start by using our type tool. Click over here with T for the type tool, and then just click once and type the word road in all caps. Make sure that your text is either white or a bright color, so you can highlight it, come up here to the color picker, pick white or some kind of bright-ish color. We want it to be light and easy to see because we have a dark background. Also make sure you have a big, bold font for almost every effect I'm going to show you. The bigger, the bolder the font is, the better, because that way you can really see the effect. And then let's make it nice and big. Nice and big to take up lots of space on the image. Okay, perfect. So make sure you've taken your time to make sure it's a big bold text that says road. And now what we're going to do is we are going to blend them together. So we're going to open the blending options. There's a couple of ways you can get to blending options. As usual in Photoshop, there's multiple ways to get something, and I like to show you both so you can pick which one works best for you. So with the text layer selected, make sure you have it selected or else you won't see this will be grayed out right here. Click the text layer, come down to FX, and go to blending options. This brings up this menu which we've seen before with the other types of FX right here. The other way to get to this blending options, if I hit cancel, is to just double click on the layer itself. Make sure you just double click in the empty space. Don't double click on the text, because if I double click there, that makes me change the name. That's not what I want. Anywhere else in this empty space, you can double click and that will bring up the exact same blending options menu. So either way works. Pick the way that works best for you. So when you're first starting out, the thing that most people learn is to just drop the opacity. If you drop the opacity means how visible something is. If it's at 100% full opacity, I can see it. If I turn it all the way down to 0, now it's no longer visible. It's completely invisible. And if you drag it up, it starts to look faded. So some people do it that way, where it looks like it's part of the design, but that's not what we're going to do. That is for beginners, and you are no longer beginners. You guys are starting to become professional photo editors. So what we're going to do actually is come down here to the underlying layer slider. So what this does, when we adjust this slider, this will control the shadows and the highlights coming through from the layer underneath it. So for the underlying layer where the shadows are, I'm going to click and drag this slider to the right, and you'll see what starts to happen on my text. So as I drag this underlying layer, it's letting the shadows come through the text onto here, and now it looks like the text is part of the road. If you go too far, it starts to look like that, and then it's hard to see. So we don't want to go too far. We want to go far enough to where it looks convincing. If you think the slider is too strong, we can also make it more fine-tuned by splitting this slider in half. You see how there's a line right through it? If you hold Option on your keyboard and click this, it cuts it in half. You see now it's two pieces. Now I can slide this side to the right, and now it's cut into two halves. So now I can do the same thing, but makes it a little more fine-tuned. It's not as strong on the effect this time. But now it looks like it's blended. So if I click OK, I haven't edited the effect permanently. I can still move this around. Anywhere it determines the shadow, it will let it shine through, and now it looks like it's blended to the road. So the effect is as simple as that to get started. It's going to get a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. Let's do the same thing on the next example with the word wall. So same thing, go to your type tool, click on here, and type the word wall. Again, make sure that it's a big, bold font that's either white or a bright color. Make it nice and big. Take up a lot of space. Just like that. And then we'll open the blending options. If yours is grayed out like this, it's because it's waiting for you to confirm your transformation choice. Always double check for these checkboxes up here. Now I can open the blending options by double clicking and doing the exact same thing. Just take this slider, slide it down. It's a little strong, so I'm going to split this also by holding Option and splitting it up. Now I can see that it's letting the shadows come through. Again, no matter where I move this, it leaves the shadows in the same spot. So it's detecting wherever the shadows are in the image, so I can move it and the text will adjust with it. So just like that. And you can always go back too. If I open it back up, I can come back here and change it as much as I want. I have not done any kind of destructive editing so far. We will, however, have to do it in the third example. So in this one, we're going to do the same thing, but we need to do an extra step because this one is not straight on. This one is slanted. So let's go to our type tool, and we're going to type the word street. Same as before, all caps, nice and big. All right, so we're going to put the word street right about here. So we can't start blending yet because it's still not going to look real, because in these examples it was easy because we're looking straight down or straight ahead, so that was fine. But now we're at a bit of an angle. So first we need to bend the text to fit the street. And we're going to have to do an extra step in order to do that. So we need to distort the text and bend it around to fit the street. So there's one thing we have to do before we get started. So if originally we would come up here to where it says Edit, and we would go to Transform, and we need to do this one that says Distort. However, the problem is that it is grayed out because you can't distort text. But what we can do, we have to do a little bit of destructive editing. So on the street layer, the text layer right here, you see how it's a T? Right click, and we're going to do the opposite of a smart object. We are going to rasterize the type right here. So when you click on that, you'll notice this changes. What I just did was a bit of destructive editing. I destroyed the text, so now it is no longer text. Now it is an image. Now I can no longer go in and change the text if I need to. It's now a picture, and it can't be undone. Sometimes you have to do a bit of destructive editing in order for certain effects to work, and that's what we had to do today. So now that it has been rasterized and it's no longer text, now I can distort it. Go to Edit, Transform, Distort. Go to that one, and now what will happen if you drag these corners, you'll see that it's doing this. So now you can drag the corners to distort the text to make it look like it's going the same direction as the street. Make sure you only drag the corners. Don't drag it from the middle, because that will do that. It will bend more if you do the corners. So bend it in a way that makes it look like it's following the same path as the street. Kind of like that. Perfect. So once you're satisfied with it, then you can hit the check to confirm, and now our text looks like this. And now we can do the blending options. So let's double click on this and do the same thing we did before to adjust this slider. And now it will let the dark areas come through. Just like that. You'll notice this side's a little lighter, so you may not get the T, but you can have the light areas come through as well if we drag from this side. See, now I'm dragging from this side, and it's starting to come through more in the T area because that side of the screen is lighter. Perfect. So click OK, and now it's blended going with the angle of the street. So again, very simple effect. All we're doing is changing the blending option. On some of them, we have to change the angle, and that's what you're going to do for the rest of these files. So for this one, I want you to put your name, type your first name, and do the same thing we just did for this one. You have to rasterize it and distort it before you can change the blending option. And I want you to do the same thing for all the remaining files, but choose a word of your choice that kind of describes the scene. So this one you can do something like concrete or asphalt. This one you could type in beach or sand. This one you can put run or track or something like that. And feel free to put it whatever you want for these remaining files as well. Put something that blends to the surfaces. So type a word that you can blend here, like Spider-Woman or walking or path, or something you could put that blends to all of these fun surfaces right here. And that will be your assignment for the day. So make sure you take your screenshots of everything as you blend text to every single one of these exercise files. Okay? So have fun and let me know if you have any questions.